Hi, Gwen.
Well, hi, beautiful. How are ya?
Um, how am I? I'm really good. I'm also a little nervous because in this episode of the Gal Matrix, we're going to talk about imposter syndrome together.
Yeah.
And I'm having one of those meta moments because I'm going to talk about imposter syndrome while having imposter syndrome.
So, our last video about game changers, you didn't tell me we were videotaping, so I was very quiet. Today, you did at least warn me we're going to talk about imposter syndrome. And my first thought was, when the hell haven't I felt like I had imposter syndrome?
100%. If they gave PhDs in imposter syndrome,
Uh-huh.
I would have one.
Oh, me too. Me too.
That and 80s lyrics are the
Oh,
only two things that I could have a PhD in.
okay. So, there you go.
So, and you're the only person who would even agree to talk with me on camera
Really?
about imposter syndrome.
Oh my
And
God.
I know I asked you and I asked a couple other, some clients and some friends, and nobody wanted to. And I think that is just so telling about how much we all struggle with it.
Yeah.
Um, and when I was trying to think about, okay, well, what's like the official definition of imposter syndrome? And I thought of a client I had last week who is, she has a job, but she wants to get a different job. And we were talking about the process and what she was afraid of. And she said, I'm afraid that everyone's going to find out that I'm really a dumbass.
Mhm. Yeah.
And I thought, that's it.
That's the essence of it.
That is the definition.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it holds us back, especially women,
Yes.
from so many things that would make our lives and the world so
Hmm.
much better.
Well, it keeps us so small. And yes, I've read lots too, and I didn't pull out a definition, but um, first of all, it's not a syndrome.
Mhm.
It's not a true syndrome. It's just a term somebody came up with a few years ago.
Mhm.
And yes, mostly women will talk about having it or being concerned
Mhm.
about how to move through it more than men. But most people do suffer from it, all people.
Mhm.
Um, it's only those that are truly at the end of narcissism that don't have it from time to time.
Mhm.
And,
Mhm.
like I said, gosh, when do I not have it? I grew up in Boonville, Indiana. So I think about high school playing the bigger teams. I think about going to, search for my first job outside that little
Mhm.
community. I think about, thinking I could go off and get my master's in something and went to University of Michigan and felt like a complete imposter. Those who go to Michigan tend to like to think of themselves almost in the Ivy League East Coast, division. I'm from Boonville, Indiana. So, of course, I would say I'm actually from Evansville, Indiana. And then
Mhm.
they'd all get confused and think I was from Evanston, Illinois, which is a suburb of Chicago. Um, You
I
just get
think
tired of explaining.
yes. Yes. You get tired of the risk of something that you reveal
Mhm.
causing people to think you don't deserve to be where you are.
Don't really belong.
You
You're
don't belong.
less than. You've got some steeper secret that they're trying to
Yes.
figure out. Uh-huh.
Yes. Yes. And
How
you
the
know
hell
what
did you get here?
and in the modern day, like right now, in today times, do you want to know what gives me the greatest feeling of imposter syndrome?
Sure.
Going on LinkedIn,
Ah.
because I feel like all the posts, all the pictures, all the articles are sometimes overtly, but always subtly trying to showcase somebody in a way that causes other people to feel like they're less than.
Mhm. Well,
And
everyone's marketing themselves.
yes, yes,
And when you're trying to sell a product, including yourself, you're only
yes,
talking about all the best stuff.
yes,
Yeah.
yes. So tell me, when you think about jumping off the corporate pier, so to speak, and starting your own business, what were some of the things that you said to yourself that made you feel afraid, made you feel like an imposter?
Scared to death. Even though I felt like an imposter in corporate world
Mhm.
forever. At least it was familiar. At least I knew the good, bad, the ugly, and the neutral. At least I knew how to maneuver through that world. Um, so going into becoming my own boss, oh gosh, it was all me. I mean, I I wasn't hired by somebody else or a group of other people who believed in me or knew I would be really good at something, and so they hired me. This was just me, and anyone that wanted to pay me money to be coached by me had to see that value in me. I didn't know, I no longer had a team of people to help or support or complete projects. I didn't have other people to bounce ideas off of. So that's scary shit. I mean, scary, scary shit. And it was like, what if nobody sees this value in me? I mean, there's no hiding from that.
Absolutely. I'll add a couple more.
Yeah.
Who would trust me
Oh,
to
yeah.
help them go through hard things?
Right.
If they really knew me and knew that all of my lessons I've learned the hard way,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
why would they trust me to help them?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And this one came up this week, not with coaching, though it comes up sometimes, but with a consulting gig, I'm talking about, you know, what's your method? What's the model that you use for this or that? In the middle of the interview, I'm like, holy shit, I don't have a method. I don't have a model. I didn't go to school for this kind of strategic planning consultant. I was a strategic planner at one point in my professional career, director of strategy and business development, and did it all. And of course, was involved in it many times over my career. And I know I can do it really well. But suddenly I did and of course, the person interviewing is a professor that teaches this stuff. So, yeah, drop in the gut moment of I'm an imposter. What the hell am I doing? Why
What
would
am I
somebody do
doing here?
this? I don't have certification in this.
Yes, and that is such a huge component of what creates that sense of imposter syndrome. How many credentials do you have after your name? How many big companies can you name drop? What schools can you name drop, right?
Yep.
All of that is what creates that sense of I am not good enough. I can't take a chance. I need to stay where I'm safe,
Yeah.
right? I need
Hmm.
to I need to stay. I can't make my own structure. I have to
Hmm.
be safe in the structure I'm in. Um, One of the funniest things that I have come up with that's actually really effective, and I do it with clients too, but it just kind of happened accidentally, was when I was working at the large healthcare company, and I had to go have really hard conversations with these physicians who were also owners who'd gone to school for, decades more than me, right? When I'm still having nightmares, including last night about not graduating college,
Oh gosh, gosh.
right? And I did, but I still feel like I haven't, or I'm about to
There's that
fail out.
panic. There's that
Right.
internal panic.
Yes. So I created an alter ego,
I love that.
and her name is Joyce. I haven't had to use her because quite some time. But I would in my cubicle when I would have to go talk to a physician who, was doing something, usually like screaming at their MA, right? Or a nurse, or there was a patient complaint
Screaming
or
at
what have
somebody.
you, screaming at somebody. I would put my scarf on because Joyce wore a scarf. And I would go and I would be this person. I'd be in my mind, I'd be like, this is a job for Joyce. And Joyce doesn't give a shit how long you went to school.
Right.
Joyce knows that there's a huge power differential between you and this person that you're treating like shit.
Yep.
And
Yep.
so, actually, a friend of mine, a physician friend, made me a needlepoint
Oh,
of Joyce.
I love
Isn't that
that.
great? So, I
Yes.
mean, that's something that, like, literally still to this day, I use. And I tell people if you don't feel like you can represent you in a confident way, create an alter ego.
Yeah.
Even Beyonce has one, Sasha Fierce,
Right.
right?
True.
Right?
Yes. Yes. Or put on the costume, whatever it is. So what I tell people is think back when you had just graduated 8th grade and everyone starts to go, oh, cool, you're a high schooler now. You're a freshman now, all through the summer. And there's nobody that feels like they're a high schooler who just after they graduate 8th grade, they're scared to death. They've never stepped in the door. Or think about for me, big imposter, have that first baby. And you look at that thing and go, oh my God, I cannot believe I am your mother. I cannot believe I am 100% responsible for another human life. Everybody can come up with when have they truly felt like an imposter and scared to death. And then I walk them through. And so what did you do?
Yeah. How did you cope? I think another really big one is to have people around you, surround yourself
Mm.
with people who are truly rooting for you,
Yes.
who can be an accountability partner. And you've absolutely been that for me. And Glenda, who you've heard me talk about a million times, she's my counselor slash, she's like my own personal life coach.
Yeah.
She is loving. She is rooting for me. She is there to remind me
Hmm.
that I have things to offer. Why
Yeah.
not? Right? That's the other thing. Why not me?
Why not?
Why
If, if,
not me?
if, if it gives you pleasure, if you like it, if it gives you
Yes.
energy, it's something great.
Yes.
But don't force yourself to do stuff because you think it's the expectation that doesn't feel good, you don't like. Um, that's truly being inauthentic. And that's where I am like, I can take on a new role and get through the imposter stuff. I can become a freshman in high school and get through it. I became a mom and got through it. But if you are in an organization or a part of a team and you're like, this just doesn't feel right, and I do not enjoy this and I do not like it, listen to yourself. Don't ignore that and don't try to pretend. Because then you just feel so much worse and you feel false and then you'll start to have anxiety and all the stuff.
I just came from a client call where we were
Okay.
talking about that exact thing, where her imposter syndrome is keeping her in a culture that doesn't align with her integrity,
Just doesn't sometimes.
right?
Hmm.
It's
Hmm.
fascinating. So, the other thing that helps me, and I don't know if this will help anyone else, but it helped me with deciding to do this podcast. I reminded myself that we only live once,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
We only live once, and I'm 50. So if not now, if I'm not going to trust my belief that I can hopefully help other people feel less alone
Hmm.
and feel more willing to dare and to dream,
Hmm.
then when?
Yes. I'm glad you brought that up because that was a big one for me when I went into my own business. I was the inside person. I hardly did LinkedIn. I didn't do Facebook. I didn't, none of it. I just did good stuff inside the organization. And I thought that that would, be the main message. People would be attracted to me as a coach because I'd done such good stuff inside the organization and quickly realized nobody's going to know that if I don't have the guts to be out there on LinkedIn and all the social channels and talk about things. I can't be this quiet little introvert. Um, that was really hard. And I had to start to say that to do that isn't about me, even though it still gives me butterflies. This is about how do I get my voice out there to inspire people, to give other people courage, to give other people insight, just as we're doing today, that all these things that we hear about and they're really scary and we're afraid we suffer from and we got to fix ourselves. Um, 99% of people have the same stuff going on. It's okay. And the way to get through it is to talk about it, acknowledge it, and then, assess what's one little thing, one little experiment I can try to keep moving forward. Yeah. So the social media stuff, the LinkedIn stuff, it's a big one.
Absolutely. Because of the risk of things that are meant to help people inadvertently making them feel less than.
Hmm. Well, I think that's only possible if we pretend like we've never experienced these things. These things are abnormal, that people have to listen to us to get
Right.
insight because
Right.
they need to get
Yeah.
fixed.
Right.
And I think we try at least to be very clear. This is all normal. We're normal. We've stepped in shit how many times? Oh, and even though we know we need to plan and respond and move forward, sometimes we just react and sometimes we take too long to do things because we feel like imposters and things are scary.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this is life.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Oh, I love it. In fact, here's my other really effective coping strategy because I have all those self-doubt, the critics, right? The inner critics.
Yeah.
Mine's Becky is her name. She's
You have a name for your inner critic?
yeah, Becky.
Okay.
She's Becky with the good hair. Like
Oh.
that's from a Beyonce lyric too. But yeah, she's really judgmental. Um, so because I have her and she's not going to leave me, like she's never going to leave because she
Right.
actually thinks she's protecting me,
Yeah.
even though she's not. I surround myself with quotes that are counteracting her voice in my head trying to keep me small.
Mm, good.
So, one of them, which is literally over your head right now, when you feel doubt, which you will. Just show up
Mhm.
and see what happens.
Nice. You're so good with the quotes.
Well, they help me. I need them, right? Here's the other one. You can't be that kid standing at the top of the slide overthinking it. You have to go down the chute. Tina Fey.
Hmm.
Love my girl Tina.
Hmm. In the fact that Tina Fey obviously has struggled with this kind of stuff too, or she wouldn't have a quote.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Always gets me. Yeah.
So we're always going to have the Beckys in our heads, but we
Yes.
can also create our own Joyce.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. And Becky is trying to be helpful. She's trying to assure you fit in and you're going to have the best possible chance of success. But I love how you formalize knowing you've got Becky and you've got Joyce.
Right. Because Becky knows that I'm my own IT guy now
Oh,
since I own my own business. And that was one of the imposter things, right? Becky
yeah.
knows that one time I sent an email on accident to 3,000 people.
But that was just one time. So
Yeah.
Becky can't keep holding that against you.
Well, that's not the only email mistake I've made in my career that Becky knows about. But it was the biggest because eventually the servers shut down because people kept replying to all saying,
Oh
I don't think this was
my,
meant for me.
oh my God.
Oh my God. I know. So Becky knows about that.
Okay.
She's concerned about me being my own IT person.
Okay. It
But Joyce knows that it was an accident.
was an accident, man.
And now it's a funny story. It makes me
Right.
human. It makes me relatable.
Makes you laugh. Makes me
Yes.
laugh.
All right. Well, thank you once again for joining me in the Gal Matrix. And I will see you next time, which will be soon.
Sounds great. Love ya.
Love you.
Bye.
Bye.